begging for the snow for a while. I don't know if everyone's on board with that. Let's have a look at where our temperatures are warm and why they're warm. One of the reasons is you have high pressure, clockwise flow around that's going to bring, some more of those more warm temperatures up into places like Texas. South Florida is still warm. We didn't have winter at all last year, I feel like, into Florida. And so I know a lot of people are hoping for it now. Here's a look at that warmth that Jordan was alluding to. 15, 25 degrees above average. By the way, this is not going to last very long. If you look at the forecast over the next week, you see that we have cold air coming in, then we warm up a little bit again, and then we have more cold air that's going to be diving down. So we're going to be in a little bit of a seesaw, but 'tis the season, right? As you go deeper into fall, you have more of those colder days than the warmer days, but they'll kind of bounce back and forth for a little bit until you're into winter, though our winters have been above average too. Our jet stream has been, shooting across the center of the country, allowing some of that warmer air to stick in the south. So it's been straight up hot. You went from having your heaters on to now putting your air conditioners back on, all the way up in Rapid City where it's 60 degrees today, Pittsburgh 65. But notice the 80s. They are deeply embedded here along the I-10, I-20 corridor. And as we go through the afternoon, watch for that heat really expanding east-west, north-south. No one can really escape it. Tomorrow, notice we do have a front that's going to come through, and it kind of really pushes in, let's say, like our Thursday into our Friday down into the south. And so that's going to wipe away a lot of these above average temperatures, at least especially through the northern tier and down into Texas, which in the Panhandle, we do have fire warnings here because it's dry and windy, but there's your front. There's your Thursday, as I mentioned, coming on in with your cooler air. So, Jim, it doesn't last long for some of us.
No, this isn't Arctic air, so it's going to modify even quicker than the last one did. So that's good news. But maybe some changes mid-month. Right? Looking at the long range. We'll see. So hang.
If you look at Burlington, Vermont, we're like over 3 inches above average. So we need some snowfall. We're just slightly below. It's about 0.7 of an inch, but it's slightly below. What I want to say about this pattern is the system that went through the Midwest yesterday that we were talking about is this energy here. But the atmosphere right now looks like a sloppy mess. There's just like loads of energy everywhere. There's not this nice, ball of energy. So if you like things organized, the weather pattern is not your friend. We have the jet, you can see the winds, everything kind of shooting across, going from west to east, but it's just messy. So what does that translate to you? That translates to a lot of days where you see clouds, where you see showers, then you'll get a day off, then you'll see it again. It's super not great out there overall. Right now, Burlington gusting to 35, Boston you're fine, but you're seeing streaks of rain that are coming on through. Much of the snow is staying into Canada, but we will get some here into New England. And like I said, we need it in spots like Burlington where we're about 0.7 of an inch below average, and that snow is going to come in. It's not going to be very heavy with this, but it's going to be enough to leave some on the ground, especially the grassy areas. So here's a look at Portland, Maine. Our temperatures are on the cool side. Look at those 30s here, 38 with rain and snow for our Thursday. By Friday, we're warming back up here, closer to average. And we will see that system come through, and then we have another system come through. Like I said, it's just this train of storms that aren't super well defined. It's kind of like, when you're putting your clothes away, you have them in the drawer, but the drawer is messy. That's kind of what the atmosphere looks like. Does that drive you nuts if all the shirts aren't like perfectly lined up and you just kind of throw them in there? That's what we're seeing in the atmosphere. We'll get another shot of rain and snow as we head through our Thursday forecast here as we start to wrap up the week. Jim, 1 to 3, not too bad, for us here, but we'll take it.
That's not an easy forecast because there's going to be mixed precip.
It's a mess. Like on this Tuesday edition of America's Morning Headquarters, farmers are taking here in the Northeast. We do have some more mild air in place and some gusty winds. Boston sustained at 16. We've seen other spots like Buffalo gusting to 29 miles an hour. That potentially could cause some issues with some flights. Burlington gusting up to 35 miles an hour. It'll be the winds, not the weather necessarily, because it's not too heavy when it comes to the rain or the snow. That system is the one that we saw in the Midwest yesterday, and then there's another one behind it because we just have this train of storms going through the northern tier, and that's going to bring another chance for the rain, the snow. We could use the snow, get a good base down on a lot of these spots. But we don't, I mean, I guess we could use the rain. There is a lot of drought here too. But let's go for snow, right? It's that time of year. 'Tis the season. Not a lot of it, mainly rain for us as we go through the day today here for our Wednesday. Thursday, it'll just kind of stay right along the border with Canada. Then it all, just like the last one, shifts into the northeast. So you might see a little bit of frozen stuff coming from the sky. Pittsburgh State College, Binghamton is going to be seeing the green on the map too, and then it's all going to start clearing out. And this is really kind of the pattern we're in. You get a storm, you get a break, you get a storm, you get a break, 1 to 3 inches overall, so nothing huge. I do think the winds will be a big deal. They're going to pick up again with our system moving through for our Wednesday in the Midwest, and then it is all going to be shifting into the Northeast, so we'll see more of those winds again. But even Thursday, look at that west wind, 30, 35 miles an hour from Green Bay on into Minneapolis. And then that is all going to be shifting into the eastern lakes for us as we head into our Thursday. So we're in this messy bit of a pattern as we head over the next couple of days. And I'll tell you what, that heat is not going to last very long. We do have some cooler air coming back in. Next on America's Morning there. Tomorrow is National STEM Day, a day to inspire kids to explore and pursue their interests in science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Here at the Weather Channel, any day and every day is a great day to learn something new. Let's focus on ice and how your car responds to it in today's edition of Science with Steph. We all know that ice is slippery, but have you ever thought about why? We quench your thirst for knowledge in this Science with Steph. It all has to do with friction, which is the resistance of an object's movement relative to another. An easy way to test friction: take a toy car and roll it on different surfaces. All you need for this experiment are aluminum pans, cut down, 2 of them. It doesn't have to be perfect. Washcloth, book, tape, and 2 toy cars. In one tin, you're going to add water to it. Doesn't matter how much. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to make sure the bottom is covered, and then you're going to freeze it. With the other tin, you want to make sure the washcloth is on the back, and then tape it into place. And now comes the fun part. We're going to prop the washcloth up on the book, and that represents dry pavement, while the ice, well, that represents ice. And as expected, the car goes a lot faster down the ice. If you look through a microscope at any object, you'll see a rough surface. Surfaces like pavement are jagged with pronounced bumps and valleys, which cause more friction, while smoother surfaces have much smaller peaks and dips, equating to less friction. Ice actually has a bonus feature you might not know about: a smooth, thin layer of water on top, creating less friction and more effortless sliding. And that's Science with Steph. So let's find out where it might be a little slippery on some of those roads, as Jim was kind of just alluding to as we head midweek. Maybe a little bit of cooler air and maybe a little more of that snowy stuff. Right now, it's mainly rain. Yes, in far northern Maine, we have a little bit of snow that's coming down. That's system number 1. Then we have system number 2 that's going to blast in as we head into, a little bit midweek later in the week. And that's when we'll have a better chance for some of this ice, some of this snow, some of this frozen precip for us. And we'll have to watch out for that. Also in the Midwest through the day today, you've got snow here into the Arrowhead, going back to International Falls, Rainy Lake, little walleye there, little ice fishing. I think it's too early for ice fishing, but we'll get there. And then there's that snow continuing into Minnesota as we head into our Wednesday. Wednesday evening, our next system comes on through. That gives us a better chance for some snow, and we will see that again mainly through northern Minnesota and also into northern Michigan here in the UP, in the Upper Peninsula, Marquette. I mean, this area, we can see 200 plus inches of snow a season. So if you don't like snow, this is the wrong place to live. If you love snow, this is one of the best places in the country to live for it here. And then it's all going to be making its way into the Northeast eventually. We get a little bit of a break here, and then Wednesday evening we start to see the rain come back in and some of that frozen stuff as well. So that's when you have to really kind of take it easy. And even with the rain, you might think, oh, it's just rain, I'll be fine. But, just that light rain, sometimes you think, oh, I'll just continue on with no problem. But be careful out there. It's always a good bet. All right, let's go dog walking now with Jordan. Meteorologist Reynolds Wolf goes deep to find the solution to sustainable energy after solar power waste presents an issue. This is as we continue our Powering the Future series on Pattern today at noon. He'll also be live, Jim, on our show here to talk a little bit more about it, give you a little more of a tease of what's to come.
You said
about the people, which all of this really is about, right? And it was phenomenal. Go to Pattern to check it out if you missed it.
Looking forward to it today.
It's out.
My bag for
all of your
no, you're right. Actually, I moved the suits in one other room. Yeah,
right. So you're gonna have to go in the other room. You have to go to the other room to get your outfit for work. That's right. Because it's going to be nice and warm. And it's not only here in Atlanta, where our Weather Channel is headquartered, but also into places like Texas, little southerly flow around this high. Of course, South Florida, we're warm. We never got a cool off last winter. Hopefully, we'll get some cooler temperatures down into Florida. And with El Nino developing, that tends to make the South a little bit cooler. So we will see. Notice under this high pressure, we have those calm, clear skies, allowing for that radiational cooling as well. We're in the 50s while we see the 60s into Texas. And we will see our temperatures 10, 15 degrees above average, even potentially record setting in a lot of these locations as we head through the next few days. The jet stream, I got to tell you, the whole pattern is just overall super sloppy. It's just like, you know, you want to see like nice pieces of energy kind of going across like that. It doesn't look like that at all. It's basically like kind of like it's just an absolute mess going across the country. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but underneath all this is where you have the warmth, and some of that warm air is getting all the way up into the Midwest. It's going to be sliding east, and we will see a front actually cool us down. A surface front is going to come through and pull in some of that cooler air. So today we are at 10, 15, 25 degrees above average, record-setting temperatures. Jim will talk about that. And then there's that cool off that's starting into tomorrow, and it really comes into play as we head into our Thursday when this whole system's going to be shifting east. So there it is. There's your cool off. We stay mild here all the way up, by the way, into the Northeast. And our highs, look at 77 into Norfolk. 80s, it is going to be a hot one here, but the 60s in Dallas, Jim. So it's going to be cooler in Dallas than it is in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to drop about 30 degrees.
Quickly.
So they got that coming down. All right, guys, as we close to Thanksgiving.
Everyone who wants to ski, you got one little strip there, have at it, right? We are going to see a little bit more snow coming into New England. And as I was mentioning earlier, I kind of got ahead of myself, but the pattern's just super sloppy. And what that means for you is you'll see clouds, you'll see a little bit of rain, you get a break, then you'll get more. And you can see we have this piece of energy coming into the Northeast that was in the Midwest yesterday. And you see jet winds kind of blowing across the area. And we don't have this well-defined huge trough that's going to barrel in and crush us and then move out. So it's going to be kind of day after day of this, where you have a little bit of rain, maybe thunderstorm here, maybe see a little bit of sun in this. Boston gusting to 25, Burlington gusting to 28, Buffalo to 23, even up into Caribou. So winds are a big deal here in the Northeast as well. We'll see it clear out of New England. There's your rain into Vermont, and we will see snow on the backside of this with some cooler air coming in. And there is cooler air coming in overall, by the way. Portland, Maine, we are a little bit actually below average here into the 30s and 40s. We should be around, I want to say it's like 52 degrees is our average high. So we're slightly below average here. And with that cooler air, we're going to have a better chance of snow with some of that next system that's coming on through. And that means you could see icing, you could see snowflakes, you could see everything in between. You could see that rain-snow mix coming in. It's just messy and sloppy. There's just nothing super well defined coming on through. So it's kind of meh, right, as the rain comes in. Snowfall, 1 to 3 inches. We need it. Some of these spots are a little bit below average on snow. We don't need the rain, I'll tell you that much. We have had plenty of rain here. Thankfully, Jim, that's going to be on the light side.
Yeah.
Wales, right?
Yeah.
All right, coming up on this Tuesday edition of America's Morning Headquarters. Shift north and take you into the Northeast because the system that was in the Midwest yesterday is bringing us gusty winds from Buffalo to Burlington to Caribou, even into Boston, where we do have some showers skirting just to the south of the city. Rhode Island, we're seeing the rain this morning, and also Connecticut. That clears out. Then we get rain and even a little bit of snow from the system that we are currently dealing with on the backside. All very, very, very light. It's not like this is any sort of a blockbuster storm. That's one of two. Our next one's going through the Midwest today, and then it will make its way into the Northeast. This will bring us, I think, more widespread rain, and the tail end of this, you see that front going down to the south? That's what's going to help cool off the south. That is our surface front that's coming on through. So let's talk about where it's going to be first. Here in the Midwest, we've got the snow And the Arrowhead, the UP of Michigan, rain down into Chicagoland, Milwaukee, Grand Rapids, Alpena, and then this all is shifting east into the northeast as we head later in the week. And by the way, there'll be cooler air on the backside of this, so we will see our temperatures drop down a bit. It goes into the northeast as we head into our Wednesday evening. Really, as you wake up Thursday, it's going to be messy. This is 8 a.m. There's your snow. There's maybe a little rain-snow mix. The atmosphere is not super well defined, so it's really a smorgasbord, cornucopia of weather that you're going to be dealing with, and it does start to clear out as we head into our Thursday. When all is said and done, just a few inches of snow, getting that nice solid base for all the skiers up here and all those ski resorts. The wind will be a problem as well as the system moves from the Midwest into the Northeast. Next, Kentucky boldly transitions from cold paw for a frontal passage. Let's take you to the Midwest because we're going to get that same boundary coming through, and our temperatures, especially Florida, no shocker there. You can see as the sun's coming up, everything's kind of warming northbound here, and also into Louisiana and Texas where our temperatures are in the 60s. Underneath this big high pressure here, we've got some radiational cooling last night, so things are a little bit cooler. Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte, Charleston, but with that southerly flow, that warm, humid air going into places like the Lone Star State. As we go through midweek, we are talking record-setting temperatures. Jim's going to talk about that in just a minute here. 15, 20, 25 degrees above average, and look at this strip of heat right into the center of the country, stretching from really the Ohio River Valley all the way back into western Texas. Jet stream is allowing this warm air to come north. It's not going to last too long, so enjoy this warmth while you've got it, because we do have a cool-off as we head towards the end of the week. You can see it really into Texas, too. You're going to see a little bit of a dip there and a front come through. That's going to cool us off. So the 70s all the way up into places like St. Louis. I mean, we should be in the 50s here in a lot of locations. Near 90 degrees in Texas. I wouldn't be shocked, actually, if some of us did hit, 90 degrees, especially in this vicinity here. This is just the major cities, but some of those outskirts, we could certainly hit 90 degrees. So today we've got the warmth up the plains all the way into the northeast, as a matter of fact. You can see cooler air into New England tomorrow, but we hold strong. The reds, the orange, the yellow right into the center of the country. But notice this 80 here into Amarillo and also 83 into Dallas. We are going to see a major cool off, especially as we head into our Thursday. There it is for you. But we see the warmth along the spine of the Appalachians continue for our Thursday. Dallas, you go from 80 to 64 in just a snap like that. Really, really quick. Little Rock into the upper 60s as well. Nashville will cool off, though we still see air-conditioned weather for a lot of us here from the Great Lakes, or I should say from the Gulf Coast, all the way up into the Mid-Atlantic. So let's talk more about this heat, because, Jim, Thanksgiving is, 2 weeks away at this point?
Right.
Yeah.
2 weeks from Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Wow. That's just nuts.
So fast.
Yeah, we'll see what happens by time.
The rain is the northeast, but we are going to get some. It's not going to be loads. We're going to see a little snow, but it's not going to be loads. The atmosphere is super sloppy. The way you can think about it is, when you fold your clothes, if you don't fold them nice and neat, they're just kind of folded, but they don't look so great. It's kind of what the atmosphere is like. We've got low pressures, but they're not well defined. They're not nice and neat. So that means for us, we end up with clouds, especially upper level clouds. We got the jet kind of going ahead overall, bringing in some of that cloud and energy. This is a system that came from the Midwest yesterday. That's rumbling eastbound. So all of this is energy and winds in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. Down to the surface, it translates into rain, snow, and even some cloud cover for us. Gusty winds, too, from Buffalo to Boston, gusting over 20, 25 miles an hour. Burlington gusting to 31. So it's pretty gnarly out there. Wet, sustained winds around 17. We'll see everything kind of clear out of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, but into New England, we still see rain and snow that will come down through this evening. Then we get a little break. Then we get our next weather maker that's going to come on in. Portland, we're below average. Look at our high for Thursday, only 38 degrees with rain and snow, no sunshine. So that's going to be a little bit on the raw side. But that's not the end of it. We get our next system that's going to come in a little bit later in the week. This one's a little more widespread. And I'll say this front, this surface feature here, goes all the way to the south. That is going to blow through the south and bring us those cooler temperatures that we were mentioning in places like Texas. So this gets its way into the northeast Thursday, and it's kind of a rain-snow mix, a little ice here, a little rain there, a little snow there, because the atmosphere is not well defined, and it's just messy right now, and we're transitioning. And so that's why, Jim, it's going to be be all over the place, but you're going to see some sort of cloud cover in the very least with this thing coming through.
Nothing like stratiform precipitation with a moving.
Enough to get it done.
Just,
I'm not someone who like does it in creases and no.
Some people are just like. You see that when you see this.
That is so super cool. Well, coming up on this Tuesday edition of America's Morning Headquarters, cool down into the Northeast for some of us at least. We actually are seeing our above average temperature stretch all the way in to this area. Winds are gusting around 30 miles an hour from Buffalo to Burlington, in the 20s here into Boston. They've been sustained all morning in that 14, 15, 17 mile an hour range from Boston to Burlington to Buffalo. And as we go through the day, you'll see this clear out of Rhode Island, also Massachusetts, rain, and then even a little bit of snow on the backside of this system for us. It's very, very light. It's not a lot, just kind of spits of it coming on in. But then we'll see a better chance for more precip. Once that blows through, we have our second storm. It's going to come on in slightly colder, and you can see more air. Speaking of cold, what Jordan was just talking about with that cool air, this is the surface front that comes through and brings down those cooler temperatures. In the Northeast, you can see it's kind of all over the place because we don't have a well-defined system that's coming in. They just look super messy. They're kind of sprawled out, as they come through the Midwest and on into the Northeast. So that's why you get a little bit of everything with these, but I'll say there's a whole heck of a lot of cool air coming in behind it. That is for sure. Into our Wednesday forecast in the Northeast, you see it starts to nose in Wednesday evening to the state capital here of Albany. It expands as we go through the day on Thursday. Into our Thursday evening, we still are hanging on to at least the cloud cover associated with this. And then we still see that cooler air dropping snow, about 1 to 3 inches, not loads of it, but still enough to actually coat the ground. Coming up next, we sit down with NASCAR Cup Series. It was similar to Super Bowl Sunday in NASCAR this past weekend. Temperatures were sizzling in Phoenix with highs topping out at 93 degrees. One driver put the pedal to the metal and was crowned Cup Series champ.
That would be Ryan Blaney. He joins us live to talk about the huge win in the heat. Ryan, congratulations. All right,
yeah.
This is a big deal, obviously, for you and your team. Do you think the weather played a role in this race, at least for you, or helped or hurt you? What do you think?
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate y'all.
So, yeah, Ryan, have you ever felt like after, especially a hot race like this, all of a sudden you're like, I am so dehydrated, like your muscles are cramping as you're getting out of the car or something?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah.
I know, isn't that incredible? Hey, so Ryan, this consecutive season, Team Penske took home the title. Is Joey a little jealous, or he's like, way to go?
No, we support each other,
Is there a race that you look most forward to on the schedule?
Not really.
Can you recall a race day that was challenging with respect to the weather? That you're like, man, I just wish, I wish it would rain. I wish it would stop raining. I mean, is there any race you can recall that was heavily impacted by the weather?
Yeah, we
imagine what it is for you. NASCAR Cup champion Ryan Blaney, thank you for joining us, and congratulations again, Team Penske. Can they?
And meteorologist Reynolds Wolf goes in depth to find the solution to sustainable energy after solar power waste presents an issue. This as we continue our Powering the Future series on Pattern today at noon. Well, in order to get the most out of these solar panels, you want a lot of sunshine. And Jim, we are seeing a lot of sunshine across the country, though I do know they still get the power even on cloudy days, too.
Yeah, and that's one of the